Hello everybody, my name is Yuko Nagamura and I practice naturalistic design in Japan. Thank you Leaf Foundation for giving me an opportunity to talk about what I'm doing, and I hope you will find interesting hearing my journey. Brief history of Japanese garden. The first Japanese garden is said to be built in 4th to 5th century, and it is preserved as a ruin, but it's suggesting there is a pond and a river as a central feature of the garden. This picture is Byodo in Ho-Odo, built in 8th century. We all know about this place by 10-cent coin. Ryoanji, built in 12th century, the garden became a place for contemplation and training facility for Buddhist monks. The famous tourist attraction, Rokkonji, known as Golden Pavilion, is built in 14th century. It is rather showing off of the power and wealth of the owner. This green beautiful garden is called Suizenji Joju-en in my town, Kumamoto. It's built in 17th century. Modern example, 19th century Murin-an, a private villa. Some of you might notice a man in right is the IFLA, International Federation of Landscape Architects, President Bruno Marques, and my friend Professor Akiko Yoshimura. And you are still seeing the water in the central feature and organic and informal layout of the land with lawn and randomly placed trees, including clipped evergreen trees around the garden. Please note, all those pictures were taken last year as my personal holiday photos. What I want to show is no matter how old the garden is, it's been kept to perfection like frozen image of old days. Talking about frozen image, it is a static landscape. This is Suizenji Jojuen's picture taken hundreds of years ago. The people are allowed to be in the garden, in a pond, mound, in those days. This is how it looks now. And it's all there. We can argue that it's a form of art with nature, but supporting very limited range of wildlife. The flip side is those poor contrived plants have never been allowed to grow, and the biodiversity stayed undeveloped for centuries. To my young mind, I wanted to work with nature, and the naturalistic planting in broad meaning got me like opposite attraction. So, here my journey starts. Part 1. Naturalistic garden as a dynamic image. We are looking at a planting bed in winter. The plants called structural plants is left untouched during the winter, and the same bed looks like this in summer. All the dried branches is now got a hydrangea flowers and filled with color. And this is a same spot and following through years. The left picture is just planted April 2020 during a COVID lockdown. I couldn't go anywhere else, so I started new thing in my own city. A year later, the middle photo is April 2021, made significant change. And a year on, in April 2022, it's rush and more stable now. This is seasonal changes. spring, summer, autumn, winter. Look at the color change and height and diversity of plants. So this is what I called dynamic landscape. Take a close look at the details. This is site plan. So this project, it consists of 15 flower beds along pedestrian, and it's been neglected. And the picked up planting bed is number 6 on left. And this is the planting plan. So all plants are listed and marked where to go plant and how many and what plants. This is my planting list and giving the idea and the reason why I chose those plants. And basically, the site is very windy and direct sunlight all day, very exposed. So I chose tough plants and the plants tolerate the dry condition. They are mainly relied on rainwater only. And the color combination. Never mix too much colors. This is how I programmed the time of interest. The key is anytime there must be something to see. This is an old German classification of the plant structure. The tallest and architecture plant is called structure planting. It works like backbone of the planting, and the companion plant is a middle height bulk and less hard, and maybe repeat flowering habit. My work is, and the ground cover plants is covering on the edge of the planting bed and hiding legs of other taller plants. And the filler plants is fill up the space occasionally. Those plants could be a bit ephemeral and airy texture adding to the planting. If those plant layer is lacking, what happens is this. This is the state of the flower bed before we worked on. It's the same flower bed, believe or not. So monoculture planting, plants in line, typical annual bedding style, and based on the contract, the management contract by bills of quantity. So they are come around to do the work only on contract. No matter how plant is struggling or covered with weed and ugly, they don't care. And those plants were chosen for cheapest price. The less cost of work that makes contractor more profit. So this is a problem of bills of quantity, I think, that leading to the lowest quality work. I'm sorry. Oh, I don't know what to say about this ugly thing. They're covering black seed, plastic seed to refrain weed growing through, but black color is wrong in every reasons. It intensifies the heat and the light and breaking up themselves in a short time. And look at the attractive ground covering plants. Also, it's not doing much. So we must move on from there. Chapter 2. Introducing naturalistic planting for open spaces of Japan. I flew to England to study landscape architecture and to meet this lady, Beth Chattel. She is the pioneer of the ecological garden in England. It is now common sense to say right plants and the right place, but was a cutting-edge idea back in that time. I became a trainee gardener in this garden for 4 years in parallel with university study. The right picture is her famous gravel garden. No irrigation, no fertilizer whatsoever, but choosing the plants which love sun and the dry side, and they are happily growing together and beautifully. The left picture is water garden by the pond, the all wet-loving plants growing happily. The second biggest influence is this gentleman, Piet Oudolf, the Dutch garden master of new perennial movement or Dutch wave. I met him in 1998, introduced by Beth. These are his significant projects. The right is High Line, New York City. The left is Lurie Garden in Chicago. What's significant in his style is he uses mainly deciduous perennials and all cut back in flat in spring. And his planting style is more formulated forms, block planting and matrix planting. So I decided to take his style hold and start practicing in my country. Back to Japan. I work in Kumamoto, my town, and Tokyo. Most of the new perennial movement site is Northern Europe and Northern America, which belongs to climate zone 5 to 8, which the minimum temperature is down to minus 26.1 Celsius. The places in Japan where I work belongs to climate zone 8 to 9, which means the minimum temperature in winter is down to minus 6 Celsius. And in the summer, it's up to about 40 Celsius degrees. The most of India belongs to climate zone 10 to 12. Tokyo is the capital and the most populated and crowded metropolitan. As the land price is very expensive and mostly built up, the sense of possessing land is different. They appreciate the preciousness of the land, and they do invest on greenery to improve urban environment. Kumamoto is a city in the Kyushu Island which locates in the southwest. Population is decreasing, economy is shrinking by aging society. Land is cheap, and rich nature is in vicinity. It's a typical of Japanese local city. The city center is built up without provision of green spaces. I have been witnessing many cases how we are unwilling to invest on urban greenery, like the last priority. Interest and awareness and budget is very low in all aspects. So I take in two different approaches for each city. Tokyo first, Piet Oudolf Garden Tokyo. I invited Piet to design a garden and show real McCoy to residents in Tokyo. Second, TV show, broadcasted nationwide. Third, staff training. A large landscape contractor company hired me as a teacher and started a 3-year course of perennial planting care. Kumamoto. The first, I attend and demonstrate plant maintenance like spoon feed. Minimum 3 years maintenance contract is mandatory for any project. Second, street gardening. Ridiculously low budget, but so far successful. Only my wallet is in pain. Running free gardening club for public. So let's take a look at the Tokyo. That's the planting plan of the Piet Oudolf Garden Tokyo. This is how the planting looks like in June. Look at the rich texture and color and atmosphere. They're fantastic. This is when we planted all the plants. And this is how the plant grows in October. And the maintenance is very, very important. I teach the young new gardeners how to look after and judge the watering, when to water, what to water, how much. It's not written in the bills of quantity or the conventional contract type. You have to observe the plants and judge on daily basis. These are my young students and local staff. The youngest is 19 years old. This is the filming of TV program, and many people now learn how the naturalistic garden will look like and what's the maintenance tips and what plants can be grown in your own garden, etc. The good publicity. And this is a news headline in Nationwide that the precious insects have been spotted in our new gardens, like these jewel beetles and blue bees. So the biodiversity of the garden increased rapidly since we started. I'm really pleased with it. This is my staff training project. The key is all the students are professional and salaried. So it's not for hobbies. So they are improving their skills and learning how to look after the variety of perennials as a business and a responsibility. Well, now we are going to Kumamoto. As I said, this is my small private practice. It's a cafe, and I come and visit the garden every fortnight and spend 3 hours to look after the plants. And the rest is the cafe owner watered plants in the night. Their size is 120 square meters. This is a clinic garden, and I chose fine and gentle colors for the patients and the medical staff. It's about 40 square meters, and I only come every fortnight and 2 hours work each. This is my street gardening club site. In, I think, late April, it's open to the public. Everybody can join for free. It's 360 square meters in total, all those 15 flower beds put together. And 8 participants, regular participants on average. The 2 hours per week, occasionally long hours or more people, especially bulb planting and bark mulching. Future prospects. Where I go now? Tokyo. I think the opportunity to observe and appreciate the garden designed by Piet Oudolf will continue. And next year, every plant reach to their maturity. So I hope the garden will look best ever. The companies, I hope, will continue to investment on people and the professional contractors being trained up for gardener and be able to take the perennial herbaceous border or parks and gardens involving this kind of naturalistic gardening and launching new projects. Kumamoto, well, the things I started as a volunteer and free access to everybody have to stay as it is. But I hope, I'm not making any money on it, but I hope the leisure gardener will increase and this work will make others' life happier and brighter. And somebody may take idea home and start planting new plants in their own gardens. And so for that reason, I don't think I can stretch any farther professionally in my own place. Lastly, I feel like it's the end of introduction phase of the naturalistic garden to Japan. Now I am about moving on to the next stage, which is creating a localized style of the naturalistic garden. Selecting more tender and heat-tolerant plants and applying the, the garden design principle is not good enough. So I pay more attention to local culture, climate, and history, and started creating new style in collaboration with Yosuke Yamaguchi, a partner Japanese traditional garden master. I look forward to talk more about it at the next chance. This comes to the end of my presentation. Thank you.